One, two. Is this on? Today I would like to ask you a question. Do you know what burns my ass? The way the MCU Hulks are criticized online. Over the decades, Marvel Comics has developed a number of Hulk like characters. In the last 18 years, the MCU has imported five of those characters. Well, four and a half. We'll get to that. In The Incredible Hulk back in 2008, the one starring Edward Norton, viewers were introduced to the Hulk and the Abomination. In it, we learn the basics of the Hulk's backstory as it pertains to the MCU. We also learn about how Emil Blonsky becomes the Abomination. Due to licensing rights and other issues that I won't go in depth on here, all future instances of the Hulk will be portrayed by Mark Ruffalo and happen in, let's just say, movies that aren't titled Hulk. You see, at the time of recording, only Universal Pictures can make a Hulk movie. They own the rights to it due to a license that predates Disney's purchase of Marvel. This is why we've only seen the Hulk and Banner in Avengers and other characters' movies. But we have seen a lot of the Hulk in those movies. We know a lot about him. Here's a quick rundown of what we know pre Doomsday. The Hulk is a contagious condition, as Banner's blood can give others Hulk like powers. A Hulk transformation can occur involuntarily, and most Hulk characters can trigger transformation through concentration. One thing that is hinted at before the She Hulk series that was solidified by that show is that Banner doesn't have a Hulk problem. Hulk has a Banner problem. Everyone thinks Hulk is an uncontrollable rage machine, as said by Stark in the first Avengers movie. But that isn't true. Hulk does have direction. He is a person with motives and logical responses to events around him. There are some people who claim that Hulk, following Captain America's leadership in the final fight of Marvel's Avengers, is a plot hole. They question why was Hulk uncontrollable on the helicarrier but controlled in the streets of New York. The reason, which I feel is obvious, is that Captain America told Hulk to do what Hulk already wanted to do, that is, to destroy his enemies. You'll notice when there were no enemies in sight, Hulk immediately cheap shots Thor before going to find more people to fight. So this wasn't control over Hulk, this was direction. This was something Banner said he was attempting to do when he leapt from the helicopter to confront the Abomination at the end of the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie. Now, because Disney doesn't have the license to make Hulk movies, they've had to develop this character as a B plot in other movies. They do, however, own the She-Hulk license, as she has always been more of an Avengers character than he has. In She-Hulk, Banner has spent 5 years in off-camera therapy and meditation, and who knows what else, coming to terms with, as he put it, the other guy. When Jennifer is infected with his blood, he takes her to the isolated islands where he came to terms with himself, expecting her to have to do the same. She did not, and the internet went wild with rage. You see, in the show, Jennifer claims that she controls her anger better than he does because she has to deal with more anger provoking incidents per day than he does. A reasonable assumption for her to make. And a lot of critics take that as Disney saying that women in general deal with anger more than men. And at face value, I can see their point. But there are other Hulk like characters in the MCU. Helpfully, the She-Hulk show includes Blonsky, the Abomination, as a major supporting character, and we learn that he also is able to control his transformation. So at this point, this means 2 of 3 Hulk transformations are controllable. Banner kind of starts to look like the odd man out. Like I said earlier, it isn't a Hulk problem, it's a Banner problem. So let's look at other Banner problem that happens over in Thor Ragnarok. In that movie, Hulk hasn't been Banner for years. He had been calm at some point, though he had to have been, which means not only is the change voluntary, but it implies that the dominant personality can trigger it. So let's look at each change of Mark Ruffalo's Hulk separately. First, on the helicarrier, he is attacked and injured. He was already emotionally wound up, both by Loki's schemes and by the Mind Stone in the scepter. He tries not to change, but does so involuntarily. So this transformation lashes out at the nearest person, Natasha, and just wrecks things until ultimately falling from the sky and changing back after landing. In the battle for New York, Banner says, "I'm always angry," and changes at will. I think this means that he knows how to just uncork his anger to let Hulk out. It could be something else, I think this means he knew how to trigger his transformation, but didn't necessarily know how not to be triggered. Um, in Age of Ultron, Wanda triggers a transformation. Hulk goes on his only real rampage in the MCU. He hurts people because she's done something to his mind. Stark in the Hulkbuster armor makes himself a target, but it isn't until after Wanda's mind control has clearly faded that Hulk looks around. He's upset at the destruction he caused, and when Stark punched him, I don't think he was knocked out by the power of the armor. He was knocked out by guilt. So then now we come to the battle against Ultron. Hulk again is directed. He wants to break something, and Natasha provides him with plenty to break. After the battle, he turns off the ship's communicator and flies away. Here's clearly a Hulk desire, not just a Banner one. He saw the people he hurt and the people he frightened in Johannesburg, so he flies away to keep from hurting and scaring people again. So by the time we get to Ragnarok, Hulk has aged as a separate person. He speaks in a childish way because he's been Hulk for only a few years, cumulatively. It was the activation of Natasha's message from the end of Age of Ultron that breaks Hulk's concentration and allows Banner to resume as the dominant personality midway through the movie. Which now brings us to Infinity War. Thanos has already been described as the most powerful being in the universe in Guardians of the Galaxy. It should therefore be no surprise that one on one he is a match for the Hulk. However, even on the Gladiator planet, Hulk has never really lost a fight. The closest would be to the situation in Johannesburg, where I mentioned he was under mind control that wore off before Stark landed that final punch, and then the fight against Thor in the arena, where he was losing before the Grandmaster stepped in. Now, from an ego standpoint, especially for somebody with the mental age of the Hulk, both were probably not considered losses to him. But against Thanos, that was a loss. This is why Hulk kind of checks out for the rest of the movie. He lost, and he isn't mature enough to deal with that. So, 5 in-story years later, Hulk and Banner are coexisting. This would be 2023 their time, so 15 years after his fight with Abomination. Even more time passes to the start of She Hulk. He is assuming her journey will be similar to his own. What about Abomination? And what about Todd Hulk King Phillips? He was in total control of his transformation in the final episode of She Hulk. Given how that episode ended, I don't know how canon that event is. That's the half of Hulk I mentioned earlier. In The Incredible Hulk, Blonsky has complete control over Abomination. The two have the same goals, the same intellect, they share memories. That's not true for Banner. In the movie, he tells Betty, I can never derive anything out of it. Banner doesn't share memories with Hulk. Up to this point, Banner is the only Hulk like character who loses his mind when transformed. This pattern even comes into play with the Red Hulk. I'm not going to say who he is, as that is one of the more recent MCU movies, and although the trailers did spoil the movie, it was framed as a mystery. Anyway, after Red Hulk's destruction, he takes responsibility. He was talked down, he went to prison. Banner, on the other hand, never saw the inside of a cell due to any of the Hulk's destruction, either on or off camera. What I'm getting at here is that there is a plethora of Hulk fans on the internet saying that the MCU destroyed him, nerfed him, whatevered him. What I see isn't a reduction of Hulk, but an empowerment and evolution of Banner. No one else in the MCU who experiences gamma transformations has a loss of control Banner does, and gaining that control has been a long and arduous journey for him. How do you feel about how the MCU has expressed the Hulk and Banner and their journey in the non-Hulk movies? Uh, Leave me a line in the comments. Tell me what you think, and we'll start a discussion. I'm fully willing to take a look at other clips and other things that might be proving me wrong on this point. Thank you very much for listening.